What's up, y'all? What's good? Welcome to the What Up Doe Show. It's your boy Dame D, and I am back with another one. What's good, y'all? What's good? Freestyle Friday tonight. What up, though, everybody on YouTube? What's up, everybody on Instagram? What's up, everybody on Facebook? Let me check my audio and video. I have a few guests that's going to be joining us before we start up tonight's conversation, but I just want to check and make sure that I can be heard. But what's good with everybody? Hopefully everybody's having a great night tonight, Friday night. Even though here in the Midwest we got a little bit of smog going on. A little bit of that Ontario smog going on over there. Okay, a little bit of smog. Okay, so we can be heard over there on Facebook. What's good, everybody over there on Facebook? Smog going on over there. Okay, so we can be heard over there on Facebook. What's good, everybody over there on Facebook? Okay, there we go. There we go. So I'm gonna stop that, and we're gonna come up out of there. So we definitely can be heard. So I'm gonna wait for a few more people to jump in, and we're gonna start the conversation up. But hopefully everybody's having a great night, a great Friday leading up to this weekend. Under circumstances, with this Ontario wildfire that's been going on up out there. We're gonna start off talking about that tonight. So I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Tell me how your Friday night's going on. Tell me how your air quality and your breathing quality been going on with these Ontario wildfires. What's going on out there? Happy Friday to everybody. It's Freestyle Friday. Starting up a little early tonight. Got a few people that's going to be joining us. Waiting on DJ Sonny D to join us. We got Big Ken that's probably going to be joining us. And we got Real Talk with Big Dave. I've invited a few more guests. Hopefully my Joseph Knows join us. Got a few topics we're going to be discussing tonight. And if you guys want to join us, send me your email and I'll bring you on in. But look, everybody over there that's on Facebook, I need for you guys to do me a favor. I need for you guys to come over to YouTube where we at. Hit that subscribe button because your boy is less than 60 subscribers away from 1K. So I need everybody tonight that's over on Facebook, that's over on Instagram, definitely over on Facebook, because we get a lot of action over there. What up, though, James Sanders? What's good? What's good? Yep. So, yeah, James, we knocking down. We right there, man. We almost there. So I need everybody that's over there on Facebook to come on over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and then you can go back to Facebook and continue watching us there. So what's good with you, James, man? I'm gonna go in there and start the conversation up tonight. Since you in here, we got a few people in here from YouTube, a few people in here from Facebook. But so how's your night been going, man? How have you been affected with this Ontario wildfires? That's one of the conversations that we're going to be talking about tonight, and we're going ahead and get it started. how have you been affected? How's your air quality and how's your breathing quality? Because the other day, I'm gonna be honest. Yesterday when I walked outside, I've been on layoff all week, so I've been pretty much on the inside. And when I walked out yesterday, I looked around, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm thinking some shit, is on fire, in my area, like my garage or where I park my truck at. And I go back in the house, I call my peoples. I'm like, it may be some shit on fire out here, and they alerted me to these Ontario wildfires. I did not have no idea. I didn't have no clue, but I went outside, everything was smoky, everything was it was smogged up. It was smoke in the air, and it just smelled like some shit was on fire. And I thought it was out there in my area. But not, until I found out that this shit was coming from Ontario. So James Saunders made a few comments. He said, starting kind of early tonight. Yeah, I'm off, man, so I can start a little bit early. We off. I think we may have another week off, so I've been able to start up early, on Freestyle Fridays and earlier throughout the week. So how's you been affected with this Ontario wildfires, man? I heard they got over 300 fires that's going on out there, and this may affect us till September, to the fall, they saying. So give me you guys' thoughts, give me your opinion on this, on these Ontario wildfires and how it affected you and your breathing quality and your air quality. I know, a lot of businesses were shutting down. They're, for the day that had employees that were outside. We got DJ Sonny D that's getting ready to enter. the conversation with us, DJ Shawnee D.
What's happening? How
What
you
up, dog?
how you doing?
I'm good, and yourself. Come on in. Sound like you kind of look far away, but I can hear you.
Hold on. I've been trying to get this set up. I told you I've been having
First
issues.
found that, I'm like, how could this possibly, reach over here, in Michigan, and and I'm in Ohio right now, and it was reaching up here, so
Uh,
that goes to let you know how, you know how how this Ontario wildfires has affected the Midwest. But
mm.
DJ Shiny D, when you get right, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are, with you, and what's going on for the night.
I'm DJ Shawnee D, and I'm a little slow moving today. I'm recovering from knee surgery, so bear with me, y'all. Okay.
Okay. So you got them perkies up in you, huh? Are you
Yeah,
feeling
I try
good?
not to take them. I try not to take them,
You on them
but
tonight, though, right?
well, I had PT today, and I got a real intense physical therapist, and
Okay, so you
so
feeling
he
good
worked me
tonight.
out. Yeah, I was in a
Okay,
little
so
pain.
so DJ Shiny D is up in here with us live tonight. Under a little, little knee surgery, feeling a little good. Got them perkies up in the system, feeling great.
I feel something.
So yeah, we're gonna start the show off. We're gonna start the conversation off. Before you came in, we was talking about these Ontario wildfires, and how it has affected the Midwest. And when I was just talking to James Saunders, that's in the comment section, and I was just telling him, and I was just talking to him about it, like how I went outside yesterday and I did not know what the fuck was going on, DJ Shiny D. I thought some shit was. I thought my truck outside was on fire. I didn't know what the fuck was going on, until I came back inside and I called my peoples. I'm like, I think some shit out on fire outside out here, and they alerted me to what was going on. So give me your thoughts, give me your opinion on, on these Ontario wildfires and how it has affected you, in your everyday life.
I'm off on medical right now, so it don't affect me as much than if I had to go out every day. But I'm gonna tell you where the problem came in is because DTE, which is our gas and electric company here in Michigan, they just cut our lights off just in the middle of the day. They said a cable or something broke, so 2.5 days with no lights. So on top of 2.5 days with no lights, we also couldn't like open our windows or anything. So it was a miserable time. It really
And
was.
look, and listen, and James Sanders. No, I'm from Detroit. I've been living here in Ohio for a little bit, and that's one of the main reasons why I have not moved back. DTE is full of shit. Every time
Yeah.
it's a storm or something like that down there in the city, the power always goes out. And it's ridiculous, man. How they put the people that's paying, their electric bills, and the citizens of Detroit. How they've been out of the power. This was a horrible situation to be out of power, and having to open your window up and smell this motherfucking Ontario smoke and shit coming through your windows if you were out of power. So give me your thoughts and your opinion about that shit. With the DTE, being that a lot of people was out of power during, yesterday with this Ontario fire and this smoke and shit coming through, and people inhaling and breathing and shit.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it was a crazy time. I got two small dogs. So, trying to keep my dogs alive, they got to go outside, and even though I've trained them to the pee pad, I still got to take them out. So it was just a difficult situation. Like, it was so hot. It was so hot in the house that we had to sleep in the car for a couple nights because
Oh
like I said,
wow.
it was a whole ordeal because I tried to get a room, but then they wanted to charge me $300 because of my dogs on top of the
See,
hotel.
that's when you should have called me, DJ Shiny D.
I
Yeah,
know. I should depend
and
on your opinion.
Skeeter Man 218 said it's out here in Chicago, so that
Yeah,
has showed you how far this motherfucking Ontario wildfire, has reached. It has reached Detroit, Michigan, I should say, Ohio, and Chicago, so it's reached three
oh, yeah.
states,
Oh,
and I
it's in
believe
New
it's
York.
probably
Oh, no,
reached
no,
other
no.
states.
It's
Go
in
ahead.
New York. It's in
Yeah, New York.
Pennsylvania.
So
It's
it's don't reach the I mean the East Coast, I should say. Because I know a lot of people out there in Niagara Falls was getting it, meaning that it reached New York too. So yeah, man. Like I said, when I went out there yesterday, I'm looking around. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm
mhm.
smelling it. I'm seeing the fog. I'm like, some shit is on fire.
Yeah,
And it immediately alerted me. I'm thinking some of my shit is on fire. You know what
right.
I'm saying?
No, yeah. If I
Yeah,
had
and
a couple,
literally from being out there, taking my dog out there and just looking around, trying to see what the fuck was going on. When I came back in, I had a migraine headache from being out there. So it's
yeah,
definitely affecting, the quality of your breathing and the air quality.
yeah. I had a couple people call like, "You cool? You cool there?" And I'm telling them like it's almost like you at a barbecue in the backyard, but you don't smell no barbecue. It's just
Yeah.
smoke.
Now I ain't gonna
It's
say it's
just
like a barbecue because that
it's
shit
like
smell like
orange.
some
It's
shit
like
on
orange.
fire for real.
Yeah, it's like orange or something.
Yeah,
It's like
because really what's
a
going
orange.
on is we inhaling carbon monoxide.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why I'm in the house. I ain't going
Yeah,
nowhere.
so I advise everybody if you don't have to be out there, stay inside, because I'll be honest, it was a little bit better, or maybe I really didn't notice because maybe my nose probably have adapted or got immune. But I know yesterday that shit was strong as fuck to the point where I went out there, it immediately, affected my breathing, and like I said, I had a headache all day long.
Yeah. Trump said he about to charge Canada more tariffs because of it. I ain't even mad at you. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's
I wouldn't
affecting
doubt it,
all of
man.
us.
If he could, I guarantee you he would. He would be
I
putting the
mean, well,
tariffs
the
on these
thing is,
motherfuckers and charging them some type of fire tax or some shit like that. Smoke
well,
that.
I mean, the thing is, Canada used to be our allies, and so why are we not helping them? They got over 800 wildfires,
Yeah,
separate
that's
wildfires.
going on. I'm
So
quite sure we're gonna probably get in a I'm quite sure we're probably gonna get in a in a mission of acting. I mean, not in a mission, but get in an act of helping them pretty soon
yeah,
because if they have over 800, I thought it was over 300. So 800,
no, 800.
it's a problem. So we're
It's a
probably definitely going to suit up and and get out there and help them guys, because not only that, if it's like that over there, it could possibly, I'm not going to say possibly spread, over here because, water separates us and Canada, but, at the same time, like you said, we're allies and, we have to, be there for our allies.
yeah. You said sue them and help them.
Yeah. And I was
That's
getting ready to say suit up and get over there and
oh,
help them,
sue them. I thought you
yeah,
said
yeah,
sue them
definitely suit
and
up.
help
We definitely gonna have
them.
to suit up.
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
if you saw some of the reports that was coming back from Canada where those guys got caught up in that train, that shit was,
That was
it pretty was
crazy.
it looked deadly over there.
Man, I know they thought they were dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know they did because it was just like, it was like an inferno. Like they had drove into a
Yeah, like they
volcano.
drove
Like
through hell and parked.
it was crazy. But
Yeah,
let's
and
give
they
it up
was
to
patient.
was it
Look,
Amtrak?
I ain't gonna
Was
lie.
it
Like most motherfuckers probably would. I'm not gonna say jumped out, because if you would have jumped out, you would have been
no,
dead. But like I said,
you
it
can't.
looked like they drove through hell and they parked in that motherfucker and was there
And
until
all of
rescue
them
came.
lived. And everybody lived. Everybody made it home. So God
Yeah,
is good.
and that's miraculous,
That's
that
good.
everybody made it safe up out of there. But yeah, at the end of the day, man, hopefully the United States get in there and help them out. My last reports that I heard, it was over 300, but if it's over 800, they're definitely on fire over there.
Yeah.
And we can see that's why it has reached as far as New York.
Yeah, yeah, it's awful. And my hearts and prayers go out to all of Canadians who are affected by this,
Yes, yes.
and us, and us.
Exactly. And first and foremost, I actually want to say that too. I don't know if we've heard of anybody, reports of anyone losing their life, but if so, I want to give my condolences to the family. Then I want to give my my thoughts and prayers to the people, because I know it's been a lot of people has lost their homes, and their livelihood and things like that. So I just want to give my thoughts and prayers to the people over there who has been affected, in these Ontario wildfires, because it's a horrible thing. That's something that, you can't, if it's, you can't really escape that if it's in your area, so it's
Yeah.
gonna, that's like how we had the fires in California less than a year ago, and I definitely should. I'm probably going to send an invite out to BJ3 because he was out there last year when that happened. When we had the
Mhm.
wildfires that was going on out there in California, he was my my
Mhm.
wildfire affiliate out there. So I can imagine how the how the residents in Ontario feel. They probably feel like it's the end of the world out there. To people who lost their homes and lost pretty much everything and that was involved in these wildfires.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, it's awful.
Yep.
It's
So at
awful.
the end of the day, man, we just want to, give our thoughts and our prayers to the people over there in Ontario. Hopefully, they'll be able to get these fires under wrap. Hopefully, the U.S. will be able to come in and lend some help and get these fires under control, get them up under wraps. Because at the end of the day, it's affecting what goes on over here. A lot of businesses that shut down. It's affecting a lot of people's breathing and just air quality, so hopefully at the end of the day, we can get this wrapped up, and get this under control. So look, I don't have anything else to add on that conversation. DJ Shiny D, if you have anything else on your mind, go ahead and let's talk about it. It's Freestyle Friday. And look, we need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We definitely need for you guys to hit that subscribe button. We are less than 60 subscribers away. This is the goal that we set out over here 2 years ago, and we are knocking on the door. We're getting ready to hit that 1K mark, hopefully by the end of the night. So DJ Shiny D, what's on your mind? What you want to talk about?
I just want to talk about, I think, do you notice that people are like exhausted nowadays? Like they are so tired. Every time you turn on the news, the TV, it is a lot going on. Like I am exhausted mentally. Do you feel that way? Do you feel drained at all?
Uh, I definitely can understand what you're talking about. A lot of people are just like disgusted about, far as just what's going on throughout the country, throughout the world. But yes, some days I wake up kind of feeling exhausted, kind of tired,
Yeah,
and that can
yeah,
be from results of, a lot of things that's going on, through health, through what you might have ate that night,
yeah.
or what's bothering you the day before, things like that, but go ahead and talk about it.
I just threw that in there because, now we got black people doing white people crimes. We got the little teenager, her boyfriend that killed the whole family because they wouldn't let him move in. Is this what are we doing? What's going on?
Ah, yeah.
You know
Now
what I
that was
mean?
deep. Go on ahead and enlighten everybody, DJ Shiny D, that may have not been enlightened to this story. Take it to the top, start from the beginning. And before you do, I'm gonna read off the comment. That's been coming in. Skeeterman 218 said because TV turns everything into race. I
Yeah,
agree. But at the end of the day, everything is always going to be about race.
it's a
Because
big
race
part
is
of it.
what makes this country go. I'm gonna just be honest. At the end of the day, race is what makes money. For most businesses, and this is what makes this country thrive. It's through race. But DJ Shiny D, enlighten everybody on the story that you're talking about. It was a horrible
Are you gonna let me
tragedy
do it?
when I
Let
heard.
me do it.
Go ahead.
Let me do it. You told
Yeah,
me
go
to
ahead.
do it. All right. So I
Yeah, no,
guess
I'm
it was
telling you. Go ahead. I
oh,
got.
okay. This was in East St. Louis.
Right.
I guess he had went to jail. I think he went, and I'm not a reporter, so I don't know. But it seemed like I heard one report where he got put out, he got arrested because he assaulted her. Now I could be wrong. It could be for something else. But when she wanted, and there are two different stories. So one, they say that, they kind of planned it together. Then one story said that he kind of took it upon himself to kill the family. But yeah, they tried to steal some money or something and got caught. It's just all over the place because it's so hard to get, accurate information about it because everybody talking about it, but nobody's really doing the research. So I got to do the research. But
Right.
shot 7 family members,
Wow.
even the
All
dog.
now,
Yep,
now,
and
and
then
now he did this
56
all because of what now?
because they wouldn't let him move in.
Right.
Because he
Okay.
needed a
Now,
place to go. I guess yeah, got put out
yeah,
of
now
where.
that's crazy. That's something. I want to read another comment. Skeeter Man 218 said DJ Shiny D. If that's a white crime, what are black crimes?
Black crimes is using somebody's kid for your taxes, like you know, you know, trying to steal some Jordans. It gets worse. It does, but usually killing parents ain't our thing. I
Right.
know it's
That
been a
that
lot lately. That's where I'm coming from with it. It and it's I'm not always trying to put race to it, but I'm just saying, like, as far as problems that Black people are commercially known to have,
right.
killing our parents isn't really one of them. It's
Right.
gotten to be a little more in near decades, and about a decade ago it became more pronounced, but before that wasn't an issue. We was too scared of our parents.
No, I
Too
agree.
scared.
And I think Skeeter Man 218 put up the crying faces. I think he kind of understand what you're talking about. You pretty much don't too much hear about that in a black community where you have a black person killing the whole family,
The
over a
whole thing.
situation where you couldn't move in the house. So but yeah,
Hey Peter, hey
in a
Peter,
situation like that, that's wild. How old was this young man that did this situation?
I think he was 16. I think she was 15. He was 16.
There you go. There you go. So that goes to what you're saying. This young generation, man, um, they have no respect. This young man had no respect for his elders, for him to be denied a place to stay. That this young man would just go wipe out this family. He took out how many people? 6 people.
No, 5. But 2 are fighting for their
Okay,
lives.
5 people.
I'm not sure. Yeah, yeah. But he shot 7 people altogether. Yeah.
Wow.
But the thing
So
about
yeah,
it
at the
is,
end of the
I
day,
don't
man,
want to
he
put
took out
this
5 people.
I don't want to put this on young people as a whole. These were just some bad apples. Like I said, there's some young people out here doing some big things. And a
Yeah, no,
lot of the stuff
I
that
agree.
they,
But lately we've been hearing about it. A lot of these YNs, man, been out here just out here up to no good with this. With the whole situation with these mall shootings that we heard about. At Fairlane Mall, and then you had this shooting not even a week later at at the other mall in Auburn Hills. I forget the name of the mall, but it'll come to me in a second. But yeah, and these were YNs. So at the end of the
yeah, but
day, man,
it isn't
we got
that.
to get ahead of this. These Go ahead, DJ Shiny D.
But are we going to take, as the older generation, are we going to take any accountability or responsibility for their actions? I'm just saying everybody is, can has their own mind, can make their own decisions. But there is a sense of entitlement I find with some of the younger generation and a lack of respect in some. But that's kind of our fault a little bit. I think
I
so.
agree. And
You
we
know what I
talk
mean?
about this all the time on the show, because it starts with parenting, and most of these YNs or the youth that you see this out here out of control, causing chaos and conflict throughout the community, it's coming from, you know, um, not. I'm just going to say a lot of this are coming from single parent households. No man in the household to be able to teach these young men and women conflict resolution, and it starts with that, because none of these mall shootings would have not even presented themselves or probably not even happened if these young men and women had both parents in the household, mainly a father in the household to be able to teach them conflict resolution, because when have you heard of anyone going to the mall with a firearm, having a shootout in the mall, DJ Shiny D?
I mean, it has happened before, but I don't think that it's always, two parent households that are the root of the problem. I,
Skeeter
I
Man
think
too,
it starts
118
there.
just said, he said these are the kids that were raised by their moms. And I agree 100%. Most of these, I'm not going to put it on all the single parent households, but at the same time, man, that's where a lot of this shit is coming from these single parent households. You know, um, at the end of the day, and I'm just going to be honest. But go ahead, DJ
Well,
Shiny D.
regardless, and they're right, you know. But the thing about it is it still take two. So it isn't, raised by their moms. It is raised, where the dads. You know what I mean? Where are the dads? So when we mention single mom, it is a trigger for me because I do feel like we're harder on the women than we are on the men, and
Well,
it is a
only reason why I
lot.
be harder on the women because you gotta blame it on somebody, DJ Shiny D. And you
Okay,
gotta blame it on the moms that's there raising these children. Because if the dads aren't there, who are you going to blame it on? So you have to blame it on the
his
parents.
absence,
Because
his
if it was the
absence.
other way around, we would be blaming it on the dads. So you have to blame it on the parents that's there in the household, blaming it on the children. In my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just don't feel like now's the time to really blame, not to blame. Let's not blame because that isn't
Mm-mm,
working.
no, that's not the subject. We were just
But
talking about, where the results of this, a lot of this stuff is coming from. I'm not putting the blame on the moms, because at the same time, these kids have fathers, so, and that's another conversation, but at the end of the day, we were just talking about, how disrespectful the youth in this generation has gotten, for the respect for their elders, for a young man to be able to go and murder
it's a problem.
five people just because he wasn't able, to stay to be able to live with these people. That's crazy. What was his parents? What was his mother and
I don't
father?
know.
Why couldn't he live with them?
Yeah, I think his mom died or something, and if I'm not mistaken, he came to live with them at one point because his mom had died, and they found out that the little girl became pregnant. I'm not sure if I think her mom made her have an abortion, and I'm not really sure what happened from there. But
Right. See,
they were really upset about it.
yeah, that's crazy. Now, was her dad there in the house? Because more than likely,
Hmm.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna ask you that question before I even get to putting my input. Was her dad there in the house? Was her dad one of the five people that was murdered?
Um, you know what? And I wish that I was clear minded enough to remember because I did read a couple articles about it earlier, but I cannot. I'm a little spacey right now. But it seems
Yeah,
like
because I'm gonna be honest. I think if the dad was there, and Skeeter Man 218 said the blame goes on the mom. I think if the dad was there in the household, he probably would have been able to prevent a situation like that from happening. And I think in most situations like this where things like this happen, the father is not in a household, so I think the dad is the first step, of security, the first step of stopping, anything from happening like that, so that's why I think, in this situation, you know, um, a father or a man would have stopped that situation. So that's why I asked you that question. Was the father there in the household and who was all involved in getting murdered when this young man did that situation?
but to me, it's not like a simple template to say, okay, well, they did this. He must not have a father. What about fathers that are in jail? What about fathers who were married? We got a big problem in this country. Something we're not talking about is older men that mess with young underage women in the Black
Right.
community. It's not talked
Yeah.
about as much because we have been trained to keep stuff in the house. You don't really know the situation, so I'm just not going to surmise what the situation is with his background or
Right.
whatever. But they
Well,
were
yeah.
wrong,
At
and they
the
knew
end of
they
the
were
day, it was
wrong.
a sad situation. yeah, at the end of the day, it was a sad situation. What that young man did was wrong. He took 5 lives, and then he basically took his life. He will never
Yeah,
see the day of light. So it was a
yeah,
horrible situation. I definitely want you guys to comment, giving your opinion, giving your thoughts on that situation. This young man took 5 lives because he could not stay, you know, um, in the same house, and because they would not allow him to stay in the same household as his girlfriend. That was a horrible situation, DJ Shiny D.
yeah. It was.
So I don't have anything else to add on that. If you do, give me your thoughts and your opinion on that. If not, we can move on to our next conversation. It was horrible.
And yeah,
Youth, we got to get,
prayers go out to the family,
yeah, most
to
definitely.
all involved. May God be with you. Our prayers are with you guys. It's just so unfortunate. We have to do better, as a whole, as a community. It doesn't, to me, I just don't see a point in pointing a finger at moms when somebody's got to do it. We need good moms and good dads. We need moms and dads that are present and that facilitate growth and community in children, being on a team, being in the band, or, even, going to school and being present parents. We need a lot. And when we see a child that is absent of a father in their everyday life, why don't we have men that'll take up for that? Like, okay, well, I'm taking my kids to the circus. I'm going to grab this kid too, and take this kid. So it's a problem. Doesn't matter whose fault it is at this point. But it's a problem for us
Right.
all.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely a problem in the black community, far as fathers that being there in the household. DJ Shiny D, are you seeing all the comments that's coming through?
No,
Skeeter Man 218 is making some great comments. If you want to read them, you can. If not, I will. But he's definitely
I
making some
can't.
great comments
Yeah, you
about
gotta, because I
what we're
don't see
talking
it.
about.
I don't see them.
Okay,
So you're
no,
gonna have to.
it's in there. I got it open so everybody can see it. Skeeter Man
Well, I
218 said
don't
that
see
he said
them.
dads raise better kids. He said, let's talk about the majority of men and women. Men raise better children, girls and boys. Uh, and that's a great conversation, great topic to talk about. He also said when need custody to go go to dads instead of moms. So I just want to read a few of the comments that were in the comment section. But yeah, I agree with you.
Skeeter, I want to know. I want to
That
know, Skeeter, how do you get along with your mother?
okay.
That's
Well,
what.
so he'll probably come back and answer that question. But
Mhm.
yeah, I agree, man. It all starts at home. We're not trying to put the blame on the mom, the mother, but like I said, at the end of the day, you have to put if the blame goes towards anybody, it's going to go towards who's raising these children in the household. So
Mhm.
most of the time it's going to be the mother that's there in the household. But not taking away any blame from the dads. This
No.
conversation goes hand in hand. And this goes to the dads.
Mhm.
That's absent. That's not there being fathers. That's not teaching their young men and young women. The responsibilities. You know, that they need to be able to go out here and navigate through this corrupt, cruel world. Because if not, you're going to hear about situations like this young man just did right here. This young man probably did not have a father in his life. And I don't know about I don't know anything about this story, but in my opinion, it sounds like he did not have a father in his life that would be able to talk to him and be able to teach him conflict resolution, or be able to just give him the knowledge he needs to be able to navigate and get himself out of this situation, or just be able to have a dad to be able to talk to, and that sounds like what he did not have is a father to be able to talk to that would be able to talk him out of this situation, so at the end of the day, man, like DJ Shiny D said, I want to give my condolences to the people who and to the family members who lost to the people who lost their lives in this situation. It was tragic. A situation like this should have never have happened, especially coming from, youth, so at the end of the day, this should be a learning lesson, learning situation for youth that's watching this, that's listening to this, I should say. But
Mhm.
DJ Shiny D, man, let's talk about what's been going on throughout this country, man. That has this country divided racially. This Nolan Will situation. This young man went out July the 4th with a group of his white friends out on a boat ride. Never made it back home. Lost his life. They found his body 2 days later. This story has the country divided. We still have the authorities have still not has come back with autopsy report. A lot of people think his friends has a lot to do with this situation. Give me your thoughts, give me your opinion on why we have not came back, why the authorities have not come back with our autopsy report, and just give me your opinion on this whole situation. How this story has the country divided.
I feel like, every because they want a diversion, something like this has been happening, you know, a lot. And my opinion is the same as it was when it was Carmelo Anthony or Fernando Castillo. Like we could go back even further than that. Um, it's the same thing. So, if somebody is hiding something, and if they wasn't, they'd be more forthcoming. And the fact that
Right.
you're going through all this to hide things, and that's not in question. The fact that you can kill us and it not and you do more effort in hiding what happened than you do in actually finding out what happened. And it's your job to do so. I just think that motherfuckers should start losing their jobs and losing their livelihoods. And I feel like at this point, only thing I feel like I can do personally right now at this moment is anything that's associated with any of them. I will not spend $1 black. I will not. I'm not peaceful
Right.
protesting. I'm not doing none of that. Money talks. And they're gonna keep thinking that they can control things and control the narratives as long as they're in control.
Right. And I will, and I'm going to say this. It's been a lot of talks. There's been a lot of reports coming back. That this young man made it back to land. We've been hearing talks about from attorney Crump that they will be handing this case over to the grand jury. So give me your thoughts. This will be handed over to the grand jury. So possibly this upcoming week, we probably will be hearing that these young men probably will be arrested. Someone's going to be held responsible for this. This young man was and then the body that we've hearing all type of talks about how this young man body looked from some of the nurses. We've been hearing even white people coming up speaking about certain situations on how they think that okay. And I'll just give you the situation. It was a young girl that was pretty much that lost her life in that same community, and she said the difference. She said the whole community rallied, behind this little girl, same community where this young man died at and everything. She said, so what's the difference between why the community is not rallying behind Nolan Wells? And we know why. It's his skin color. This was a young white girl who committed suicide because she was getting bullied. So it looks like with the hiring of Ben Crump and attorneys that we're going to get down to the bottom of this, because his friends were hiding something. They were hiding a lot of stuff that was going on because, like I said, reports was that this young man did make it back home to a party, LaShawn, and then that they took him back to the island and dumped his body. So give me your thoughts, give me your last thoughts and your reports on that if you didn't know about that. This young man did make it back to the island, and it was an incident where he got into it, allegedly with some of his friends, and that's when his life, was taken, and then they took him back to the island because remember, in original reports, his father and authorities they checked and looked for his body. They did not find his body until the next day, and there was reports that they saw these people cleaning off their boat that night, and then the next day. when the authorities went back out there again, they found his body. So just give me your thoughts on everything that I just talked about. That there will be, this case will be handed over to the grand jury. What you hear about how he made it back from the island to the land and was at a pool party, and then a fight broke out. His life was taken, and then they supposedly took him and dumped his body back out on the island. That's why the authorities found his body the next day versus finding it that day when they originally started looking.
Yeah, I don't know. We probably will never know because they're gonna do everything they can do to hide the facts, and unless somebody is forthcoming, unless somebody kind of breaks the case, because I hear people are talking, there's a young lady that was talking saying that he did make it back. He did make it to the pool party. I do believe I'm not shocked at any of this anymore. And nothing that they do surprises me. I am more surprised at the fact that we as brown people, and brown includes a lot of cultures, that we can't come together and do more about this kind of stuff, because it's happening to all of us,
Right.
but
Yeah, we've been.
it's happening to all of us but the Asians, and they sitting back looking at us almost just like the people that are trying to oppress us are. Everybody's looking at us like we're the problem, but it isn't until it happens to them till they see what we go through, or they acknowledge what we go through.
Yeah, well, listen, we've been. That's why I've been doing my job trying to speak up about situations like this. Because we've been doing cases. Not with not with just this Nolan Will situation, but we've been talking about young black men and women that's been coming up hanging, coming up dead. That's been in situations where they've been in celebratory situations versus committing suicide. So a lot of these cases that we've been finding our young black men and women dead. The authorities have been ruling these cases as suicides. And now since we have learned through this Nolan Wells and just other cases, once the authority rules these cases suicides, they don't do any more investigations. So this is a common trade. This is a common thing that's been used, especially down in Mississippi with this Mississippi medical examiner. There's been a lot of lives that's been taken down there. And I can name a few cases, and I've talked about this the other day in one of the shows. But when it's coming to black lives that's been due to white lives, I should say, a lot of these cases are been coming back basically like involuntary drowning, accidental drownings, incidental suicides and just suicides and things like that, when really they're homicides and things like that. So give me your opinion on that, LaShawn. We've been getting down to the bottom of that. Our people are not letting up. Normally, a lot of these cases has been going up under the light, been getting swept under the rug. But, we've been doing our due diligence, and talking about a lot of these cases where our people have been coming up hanging. It's almost like we're back in Jim Crow days, LaShawn.
Yeah, and what they're using is the same recipe from Jim Crow, but it isn't as effective because we got cell phones, we got social media, we able to get the information out there, we're able to band together, and that's something that they never wanted. That's why they don't like to see us at the park having barbecues, and they don't like to see us joining together, especially in joy. They just don't like that. And it is something about us banding together that really frightens some people. And I don't think anything we could do or say is ever going to change that. I don't think there's one simple problem, but my question to us is, what are we going to do about it?
Yeah,
That's
well, only thing we can do about it at this point, DJ Shiny D, is just continue from our end is to try to talk to our people, keep people alert about it, keep talking about situations like this so they won't be swept under the rug, and just try to give our people knowledge on what's going on throughout the country.
Yeah.
Therefore, if they face with these situations, they can react, differently, versus not knowing about these situations. Because a lot of people don't know what's going on throughout the country. A lot of people don't listen to social media, and find themselves in situations that they would never find themselves in, and what's going on with, just like with a lot of, a lot of these murders and homicides that's been going on with, these so-called, black folks hanging out with their white friends, and that's been what's been going on throughout the country. A lot of our people has been coming up, pretty much dead, hanging out and just trusting in their white friends.
Well, unfortunately, we're gonna have to start training our children up to to have a foresight, to see things, kind of before they do it. You move your kids out to these all white neighborhoods, and then when they get all white friends, they don't know that there is a risk associated with that. That there is a risk associated with that. So I just
Listen,
think that we need to do better with training our children as to what kind of world, because they feel like, some people feel like they can just snatch our children up out the street, just snatch them up and do whatever they want to with them. It's still the same stuff that's been going on since Christopher Columbus, for real. It's been going on.
no, you hit it right on the
So
nose, DJ Shandy, and I'm gonna ask you to say it again. I think most parents, hide their kids from reality of, what goes on here in the world. Like you say, they move them out to certain areas. I'll just keep it real. They'll move from out of the hood or move their kids to a so-called, good area, or area where it's all whites, and not inform their children,
we got to
on the
stop that.
reality of what could happen or what may go on, when you're just all white folks, and not saying that, all white folks are like that, because they're not, you know what I mean? But, let's just be honest, in situations, we talked about multiple situations where, you're the only black person. Shit like this has been happening, and not just
Mhm.
recently. It's been going on since the beginning of time. So you hit it
Yeah,
on the nose. We just have to, be a little bit more proactive of talking with our children about, the safeties of, your environment when hanging around, a group of white folks. Because I've been around a group of white folks. My freshman year of college. I was at like a rave, and it was like over 100 white folks. And I was out there. My spidey senses went off, LaShawn. And I just felt kind of uncomfortable, because I'm sitting there, they drinking, having a good time and all that, but at the end of the day, once they get to drinking, and doing
yeah,
things like that, ain't no telling, what they're capable of doing, and we saw that through the loss of life through a lot of our people, over time.
yeah. So we just have to do better. We have to, I know it's against our nature, because I think melanated people have more empathy. I just how I see things. But we have to stop being so trusting.
I agree.
You know, um,
Yeah, we
I
do.
don't. They're talking about segregation more right now. And I really don't see a problem with it. Now, there are some black people I would not want to live by. But I don't consider them, to be black people. I think that they niggas, and I don't want to live by niggas.
Right.
But I would love to live around some
Right.
black people that are responsible and got
Right.
shit to lose,
Right. I
and
agree.
stuff like. That's why I
Yeah.
love
Just
Detroit
not
so
Nick.
much. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
not niggas, not niggas,
Yeah.
because
It's
niggas
just the
won't
niggas
do
who
that.
make it bad for, the rest of society. You got white niggas too. So it's just
Yeah.
not,
Oh yeah.
the black niggas. So at the end of the day, man, it's what you said. We need to be more proactive at when we're living, when we have our children living amongst nothing but white folks. We have to be able to have these conversations. Like, look, you have to, be aware of situations like this. Have
Yeah.
conversations and talks with your children, about these Nolan Wells situations and things like that. So they won't find themselves in those type of situations. And I've been using this, as I've been closing out my show. I've been saying you have to watch the people you hang with, because sometimes you may find yourself hanging by yourself. And I don't
Yeah.
know if you
Yeah.
guys get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but that the thing is like, even as a parent, like, I'm sure that there are a lot more parents that, kids ask, "Hey, can we go with such and such?" And they like, "Who all going?" And you say all the white kids and ain't no other black kids. You gonna have to be the bad guy sometimes and be like, "Nah, you can't go. You
Oh, I'm
can't
quite
go."
sure going forward, a lot of
Yeah.
parents probably gonna be saying that now. But it's just been so many cases, LaShawn, since we've heard about this Nolan Wells case, that you've been hearing. I've heard multiple cases of where you had young black men and women hanging out with their white friends, and they've coming up dead and missing. So this is not a coincidence. This is something that's going on. Like I said, many shows ago, I think that we are being targeted. I don't think this has just started. I think this has been an ongoing situation. I think social media just has highlighted and brought it what's been going on throughout the country. In my opinion.
Did you ever see this movie called Surviving the Game?
Yes,
Surviving
I
the
did.
Game. Yes, and
Yep.
it is about just this. Even though there was a black guy that was a part of, the people that were trying to kill him, but you could tell he was like an Uncle Tom kind of black guy, and we got those too. So we got to look out for a lot as black people, as God has blessed us with all this beautiful melanin, and we gotta use some discernment for us and our children and their children, so they don't use as much discernment and wisdom as we do. We're gonna have to start training our kids, just like you train your kid to use a weapon, or you train your kid to go to the bathroom. You're gonna have to train your child to look for these kind of things and foresee, have the foresight to kind of not put themselves in a situation like that.
Okay, what up, though? What up, though? We got real talk with Big Dave in the house. What up, though?
What's up,
What
Big
up, bro?
Dave? How are
How
you?
you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. We miss you.
Yeah, for some reason, I ain't never had this much problems. It would not let me in. I've been doing this for 15 minutes. I was about to give up on it.
Okay,
Oh
well, you made it
man.
to the show. Well, we was just getting ready to end it not too long ago. We were 52 minutes in, but we were just sitting here talking, man. Freestyle Friday. We talked a little bit about the wildfires, how it's been affecting everybody, air quality and breathing quality. And we were just talking about right now this Nolan Wells situation and how it has divided, affected
Man,
the
what
country.
the
Big Dave, give me your
fuck?
thoughts on this Nolan Wells situation.
Hold on, I can't even hear y'all right. Hold on, I'm trying to get this together now.
Okay, okay. But listen,
Oh,
at the end of the day, man, and I'm gonna say this while Big Dave is trying to get his things together. And look, this whole racial thing, it just don't go with black folks. I think at the end of the day, this whole racial thing has to start with white folks, because look, I'm in my opinion, I don't think, as a whole, as a race, it's not black folks that's prejudice towards whites. I think it's whites. I think they're the ones who's teaching their children, at a young age, this hatred shit. Therefore they're going out, showing this shit, because I'm gonna be honest, my parents never spoke about, the indifferences or just race or just spoke hatred against whites. At the end of the day, and I
But
think
maybe we
most
should.
blacks can I think
Maybe we
most
should.
blacks can attest to this, that their parents are not teaching them hatred towards whites. I think it's the other way around. I think whites have to do a better job at, teaching their children or not preaching this hatred shit, because that's where most of this shit coming from. It's coming from learned and teach behavior. Go ahead, DJ Shiny D. What
Well,
did you say?
I just, my thing is, what if they don't? We can't control them. We can't control what they do with their children, how they raise their children. This is what they're teaching their children. So what are we
Well,
going to
going forward,
do
if
about
they don't teach their children, a lot of shit like the what's his name, the one case, the the one situation where the black guy stabbed the white guy, a lot of that shit is gonna start to happen.
it? Oh,
If you do
Camilla
And
not
y'all
teach your
Anthony.
children about, keeping their hands to themselves, a lot of this Carmelo Anthony shit is gonna happen to your children. Because at the end of the day, we don't teach our children hatred, to go out to hate white kids or anything like that. I think at the end of the day, it's most whites that's preaching this shit, that's sitting up talking this nigger shit at home in front of their kids, and their kids are watching this shit. And when they go out into society, into the world, this is the things that they're learning, and they see at home, and they do it when they're out. So at the end of the
Yeah,
day, it starts at home.
I just think that we can't control what people do in their house. The only thing we can do is control what's in our own home. And so it's been time for us to start training our children on how to defend themselves. Period.
Yeah, no,
So,
I agree.
you
Go
uh,
ahead, DJ.
that's all we can do, really. I can't control
No,
what a white man tells his son. I can't control how a white man responds to tells his child to respond to a black person. I can't control that. The only thing I can control is what I do with my children. And I think if I had children, I would definitely have them in some gun weapon training.
yeah, no, I agree. And you hit it right on the nose. We can't control what the white man or woman teach to their children, but at the end of the day, we have to, enlighten our children on, how the world is and what they teach to their children. Therefore, because we're hanging with their children, so we have to inform our children on how how they really act or how they really feel or think about us. Not all, but we have to, warn them about their actions and how they and their behavior.
Yeah, we don't have
But
to do that no more. Now we just taking motherfuckers out that want to put their hands on us, that want to, get in our way, that want to prevent us from doing what we got to do. There needs to be some kind of consequences for that. And, I say to anybody, be ready to put your phone on record.
no, I agree because what's going on throughout the country, and we can see it through just watching the news. It's been a lot of our people that's been coming up dead and murdered, in
Mhm.
situations where they should still be alive.
Yeah,
So yes,
yeah.
I agree with you 100%, DJ Shiny D. We shouldn't have to, talk to our kids about that. We should really be teaching and preaching our kids
We
defense, how
shouldn't,
to counteract this
but
shit.
we shouldn't have to teach our kids that, but we do.
Right.
We
Yeah.
do have
So
to
we
teach
try
our
to do
kids.
we try to do the right things in the beginning, but we see that, we still are being targeted, we still are being fucked with, we are still being lynched and hung, throughout this country,
So what?
and I don't
So
think it's
what you
black
gonna do?
people. And this is my thing, DJ Shiny D. I don't think it's black people that's out here doing this fucking hanging to our people, and
The
these
thing
so-called
is,
suicides is just a cover up.
what are we gonna do about it? We're at that point now. You know what I mean? The only
Yeah.
solution is what are we gonna do about it? Because if it hasn't stopped happening, it's not gonna stop happening. So especially if we do nothing about it, which is part of the reason we get in such an uproar at first and then everything dies down. So there's
Right.
no real consequences for a lot of the shit that happens. So I think if people were to come up on people, more blacks that were armed, um, they're not expecting for us because they think all black men got warrants and felons, and they think that, they just don't see us as equal. But yeah, I'm gonna equally shoot your ass if you put your hands on me, and make sure that I try to record as much as I can. That's my only fight. You know.
Okay, Dina Gamal just made a comment on Facebook. Hey, I was just wondering if you can share something for me. Yeah, let me know if I can share something. Whatever it is, I can share. But yeah, at the end of the day, DJ Shawnee D, we have to recognize what's been going on. We cannot find ourselves in situations nowadays where we're the only one, because that's a phrase now. So we
Yeah.
have to recognize that you can't be the only one, because these things are happening. They're not it's not a coincidence. We have to wake up, you guys, wake the fuck up. This shit is not a coincidence. This shit is actually happening. This shit is real. A lot of people probably don't think that this shit is real, but this shit is real. People are getting hung. People are being found hung. A lot of black men and women are coming up dead. Due to their friends or other circumstances. We don't know yet. But like DJ Shiny D said, we have to get down to the bottom of this. We have to start making sure that we aware, that we arm ourselves, that we prepare. It's almost like we got to start preparing ourselves that this shit is going to happen.
Yeah, because it never stops.
Right.
It never stops
Yeah.
happening. So
So what? So until
what
you
we can
start
do.
hearing about our counterparts, these things start happening to them. I don't think this shit is going to slow up. Because I think what we talking about a civil war or whatever. I think it's already started. I think we just are late to the party.
Well, we trying to stay out of it, but I think, and I
Yeah,
don't think that it needs to be a civil war because we're
I hope
behind the eight
not.
ball. Yeah, we are behind the eight ball on the civil war.
Yeah, no,
You
we
know,
definitely are. That's why I said I hope not, because we are definitely not ready as a group, as a people. We haven't even got off of trying to, come to grips with, not murdering our own people, let alone having a civil war. So no,
so
we are
yeah,
definitely not ready for that. We have to be able to, come to grips with and take care of. We gotta take care of some shit that's going on in our community first. You know what I mean?
mhm,
Before we start trying to think about a civil war. So we are definitely not ready for that. That's not what I'm saying. But
right,
at the
right,
end of the day, we definitely have to start. These things have to start happening back, for motherfuckers to wake up and see that we are not going to allow these things to keep happening throughout the country to our people. So look, DJ Shiny D, I know you coming off surgery. I know you've been in pain. I want to thank you for coming on this show.
for sure.
Spending it's been over an hour. I've been looking at the time too. I said I didn't want to keep you over an hour. So I want to
Mhm,
thank you for coming on the show, giving your
for
your
sure.
thoughts, your opinion on this
Right.
Ontario situation and this whole Nolan Wells and how it has the country divided. Give us your last thoughts on everything that we talked about. Let everybody know where they can reach you and what you got going on.
My last words on it is real simple. If you can arm yourself, train yourself on a weapon. Because I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So
Man,
I think a lot of situations would not have ended the same way had more people been armed.
if they would
So
have had it.
yeah, just legally, legally arm yourself. Legally arm
No,
yourself.
I agree.
That's
She hit it right on the nose. If most of
simple.
these people that we're talking about that lost their lives, if they would have been armed and had security, armed security, meaning that they would have had that thing on them, they
Yeah.
more than likely they probably would be here. So that's what's going on, man. They're catching us in vulnerable situations where we're not armed, and we're not ready for what's going on. But go ahead, DJ
Mm.
Shiny. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted
No,
to
that's it.
key in on that. You hit it right on the nose.
That's it. That's all I got to say because at this point we done. We got to be done talking at some point.
Yeah. Well, real talk with Big Dave, DJ Shiny D. She's probably going to end. What you got on your mind, man? Are you still here with us?
Yeah, I'm still here. I can hear y'all going in and out.
Oh
Um,
wow. Okay.
But
Okay. Well,
not
look, man. Let everybody know where they can reach you. Me and you will probably come back and talk a little bit more about this in a second. But let everybody know, meaning that you can hear. Maybe we're having a bad connection. Let everybody know where they can reach you, man, and what you got going on.
Can y'all hear me? Because I
Yeah.
barely sound like.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, what sound like Big Dave is having some technical difficulties. DJ Shiny D, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I know you were having a little pain during your surgery, and I want to hopefully you have a fast recovery. And I want to thank you for coming on the show. And as always, it's always a good conversation, good talk. Like I said, speedy recovery. I want to thank everybody who made a comment today, and I need for you guys to hit that subscribe button. Your boy is on his way to 1K, and I can't do it without you guys hitting that subscribe button. But again, I want to thank Skeeterman 218, everybody else who made a comment, and again, DJ Shiny D, I want to thank you again. And again, have a speedy recovery. I know you were in a little bit of pain, but I know them perks probably don't kicked in a little bit right about 9. You probably ready to lay it down and go to bed.
Waiting on those.
Yeah, so look, I want to thank
so
everybody who came on the show, who made a comment. DJ Shiny D and Real Talk with Big Dave. He was having a few technical difficulties, but we're probably going to come back with him and probably have a little talk with you guys. So I want to thank everybody who came on the show. It's been another one. It's your boy Damn D, and we are out. Peace.